It kind of breaks my heart to come into this broadcast and have to reiterate and remind you what the president revealed yesterday. We know this is coming. We've got 2 or 3 weeks of real hell, as the president put it. We're going to lose thousands of people, and we are. And that's why it is so crucial. And I'm a radio host that likes to hear every point of view. I get that people are frustrated. We are now into April, thank goodness, April 1st. But the worst is ahead of us. And we know it. As a nation, we have to do our part. I did something yesterday that I watched big chunks of the daily White House press briefings. Those have become somehow amazingly controversial for people who hate Trump and for a media that hates this president. There's nothing controversial about them other than hearing a ton of information and a president who stands there and takes question after question after question after question. He stood there. I think he outlasted the reporters last night. And I watched almost every minute of it. It was such an enlightening, informative, amazing thing to watch. It was positively amazing. Do we have Greg Clugston's question, guys? Because I don't see it on the cut sheet. Greg Clugston, who is the SRN correspondent, the company that I work for, he was in the White House and had a question for the president about his faith. It was so powerful. It was so important because Greg wanted to know, who do you rely on? Who do you listen to? And the president said, listen, I never get into details about who I meet with, but you know what? There's a lot of people. There's pastors, there are rabbis, there are priests. There's a whole lot of people who are praying for our leaders to guide us through this. But there's no question that we are up against it. And we're up against it, too, with a segment of the population that is absolutely just kind of brainwashed into believing that the president is the boogeyman. And I want to take a moment to address that. Over at Red State, Brandon Morse wrote a piece about the timeline. I want to give you some facts for you to consider. Maybe you're open-minded and you're reasonable and you're not going to convince yourself that President Trump was like Dr. Evil in his lair with the hairless cat on his lap, hoping that coronavirus would take over the country. One of the big narratives is the way that he's handled this has just been, it's just a bungled mess. Everybody knew but him. That's something that dope over at MSNBC has been saying, Scarborough. Everybody knew it was coming except Trump. That's such a falsehood and such a lie. And as Brandon Morse collects here at redstate.com, he says, let's take a look at what everyone did in January. Since Joe Scarborough proclaims that everyone knew this was coming to the extent it was, and most of us instinctively know what a lie it is. Most of us know how crazy the accusation is. It's by crazed people who hate, who have a burning rage in their heart, and I really feel some sympathy for them. It's got to be miserable to be that miserable. Here's Joe Scarborough. A lot of people in the inside that beltway, a lot of inside. They love what these guys have to say. Here's cut number 7 from MSNBC and good old Morning Joe.
Now, we've heard, Zeke Emanuel, that nobody could have seen this coming. The fact is everybody saw this coming. Everybody saw this coming in early January. So
such a liar. I'm sorry, and I don't throw that word around loosely, but he knows better. Let's go through the timeline as Brandon Morse wrote. We knew that in early January, China was busy trying to cover up the pandemic that came from their place. Jim Garrity over at National Review covered a descriptive timeline. Early January saw the Chinese government rounding up doctors who spoke too loudly about the virus's spread, ordering samples destroyed, spreading lies about the contagious nature of COVID-19, and saying there was zero evidence of human-to-human transmission, when there clearly was. January 6th, the first American media outlet covered the virus. The New York Times released an article, but the New York Times author's reporting was based off the Chinese government's claim that there was no human-to-human transmission and that we, quote, should not go into panic mode. So the New York Times, January 6th. The pattern of China declaring everything was fine and the World Health Organization, who has been licking China's boots. Did you see Tucker Carlson the other night with the guy that wouldn't even acknowledge from the WTO, wouldn't even acknowledge Taiwan's presence in an interview because China wouldn't let him? I mean, what in the world? So go back to January. Go back to this period of time. Let's have a little history lesson, shall we? What was the left in America doing? The Democrats during this period of time? They were impeaching Trump. They were absolutely impeaching the president. As the virus was tearing through China, the left and the Trump haters that Joe Scarborough says saw the virus was coming, they were busy putting on a show to tear down Trump with the ginned up Ukraine scandal that really should have been focused on the Biden family, Brandon Morse writes. MSNBC was parroting Iranian military numbers on how many Americans it killed during a missile strike in Iran. Leftist leaders in various cities were making a show of preparing America for a disaster, but not from a virus, but from Iran retaliating. Climate alarmists warned of a great disaster, not from a virus, but from binge watching Netflix, which they claimed was bad for the environment. You get the point. You get the point. This president banned travel from China in January. And to talk about impeachment being a distraction, I don't know what level it contributed to our being surprised by this, but normal, rational people who aren't burning with a blind rage in their heart understand this caught the whole world by surprise. And it was, if you want a boogeyman, you want a bad guy, it would be the Chinese government that, I'm sure you heard about the female doctor who has suddenly gone missing when she was trying to sound an early alarm. The one doctor died, another one is missing, nobody knows where she is. We know the nefarious role China played in trying to hold this thing down and to not be truthful or transparent. Now, you could argue we should be better at intelligence. We should be able to cut through their lies. I mean, here's a big lie. I mean, right now, with the 4,000 or so deaths that we have in America, everybody's talking about how we're, competing, or we've got more deaths proportionally or whatever than Wuhan, China. We don't know what that death count was. We got a report this week. There are numerous reports that based on the amount of urns of the ashes of loved ones who are being returned to their families, they could have had 40, 50, 60,000 deaths. And they, of course, stuck to the party line number of 3,000. So, I hope that if you have someone in your life who is stuck on this stubborn talking point that Dr. Evil was in the Oval Office, totally oblivious to this virus, you can gently explain to them, and it's tough right now because people are angry, people are agitated, I get it. You don't like the guy, I get it. I understand it. I hope that for everybody who hates him, you will take the time to watch some of these press events that are around 5 o'clock every afternoon. What I saw yesterday was so profound. He didn't tangle with Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta was trying to bait him as usual. CNN, they don't matter. Apparently they didn't cover the president's part of the press conference yesterday. The president informing the American people about what's happening. They cut away. They didn't cover it. They only carried it when Birx and Fauci spoke. They're going to do what they do. There's nothing you can say about them. Doesn't matter. They're, like a friend of mine in South Carolina says, they're not in my universe. they're just not. Forget them. I'm worried about the country, and I'm proud of patriots who are standing up. I'm proud of the healthcare workers, the first responders who are risking everything. But here's what the president said in that address that at least one network didn't want to carry because they hate him so much. Listen to cut number 3. President Trump yesterday. I was so glad I watched it all, and it was long, but it was fascinating. Here's the President of the United States.
As a nation, we face a difficult few weeks as we approach that really important day when we're going to see things get better all of a sudden. And it's going to be like a burst of light, I really think, and I hope. Our strength will be tested and our endurance will be tried. but America will answer with love and courage and ironclad resolve. This is the time for all Americans to come together and do our part.
The president was very somber. He was a little bit emotional. He was very clear that we're going to see pain in the next few weeks in America. This is going to be tough, but we will get through this, as he put it, with love, courage, and ironclad resolve. May every American man, woman, and child hear the message of Dr. Anthony Fauci. Here was what he said about staying away from each other. This is called mitigation, staying home. As painful and as stir-crazy as you may be, you've got to know that it is our chance to save many, many lives. Cut 6, here's Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The answer is yes. We need, as sobering a number as that is, we should be prepared for it. Is it going to be that much? I hope not. And I think the more we push on the mitigation, the less likelihood it would be that number. But as being realistic, we need to prepare ourselves that that is a possibility, that that's what we will see.
A very short period of time for that to happen.
Right.
Can the country handle that in such a short period of time, within a couple of months? 50,000 a month.
It will be difficult. I mean, no one is denying the fact that we are going through a very, very difficult time right now.
We are going through a difficult time right now. The next few weeks will be crucial. April's going to be tough. We're going to make it. We're in the ReliefFactor.com mobile studios in my kitchen, broadcasting from home, as I do wisely every day, staying home, not venturing out, like we all should be doing. If you have that luxury, if you've got that opportunity to work from home, do it. Listen to the experts. Don't put yourself or other people at risk. And let's conquer this thing together.